Here's Hunter in a straitjacket.
We sort of hit it off, and we went on a week's binge, looking for the ugly faces of decadence and depravity. And we found them in the mirror of the infield toilets. He taught me how to be acidic in my own way. What he wanted, I would try to achieve.
Leave it alone! You know, that sort of thing.
We got on a little dinghy when he rowed, and we got to the two yachts. I got up, and I shook the cans like that. Of course, you know they make that click, 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 click noise. And somebody said, "Who's there?" "Oh, God, Ralph, we're f***ed. We've got to flee. We've got to get the hell out of here. We'll be in jail. You know, we've done something terrible." You know. One time I would have been arrested as a terrorist, you know, now. Oh, dear. He did so much of it under the influence of all sorts of things. Quaaludes and coke, and then psilocybin, a hallucinogenic drug. It certainly helped his work. I just think he was another kind of creature that I could never have imagined being.
You're going to miss him, aren't you?
Yeah. Oh, sure. He elevated my art. You can't ask much more than that from a person. He told me years ago, that if he didn't know that he could commit suicide at any time, he would feel real trapped in this life. And I knew he would do it one day. And now he's done it. But I didn't know yesterday that it would be today. That was the thing. It's come rather with a shock, you know. And, we've lost a hell of a spirit. You know, a guy with great perception and understanding of human nature and its ability to be so suckfish about all of life. Suckfish being that they take, everybody takes. He always felt that people were taking from him. He was thinking of things and people were taking it and using it for themselves. And I think that that's what lies at the heart of every true original, is that paranoia that everybody is taking from them, what they themselves thought of. You know.
Did he talk about suicide to you then?
Yeah, he told me that. He said, I've got all these guns here. You know, he got an arsenal of guns. You know, he kept them in a big safe. And he said, "If you think I'm going to live out here with all those freaks and geeks walking about outside, you've got another thing coming. I would take them on, you know. No one comes here unannounced, you know. They don't come here and I'm ready for them in case they do anything to me."
So did you take him seriously when he said it?
Yeah, why not? I did. I actually did, because he meant it that way. Because he showed me his lifestyle of guns, you know. But it was not a lifestyle of guns to kill things. It was a lifestyle of guns to defend himself in case of attack. You know, that was a difference. And I suppose that's why I acknowledged that and said, "Oh, yeah." Because
He called Owl Farm a compound.
it was, in the end, it was a kind of compound, because if you walked in at the front gate, an alarm would go off if, you know, when you walked in, and you would have to declare your intentions pretty clearly, or he would come out with a gun. He might shoot. A brown bear came by, and he shouted to Deborah Fuller, who was his helper at the time and was for 20 odd years, you know. "Stay indoors, Deborah. I think there's an intruder outside. I'll just get it off," you know. And he came out with his gun and he shot at the floor by this figure, which was a brown bear, mountain bear. And she came out the door at the very moment he said that, because his voice carries, and she came out looking for what was going on, and the ricochet hit her. And she was wounded in about 3 or 4 places, you know, which was terrible. And I did a cartoon of that. This is The only that's all you can expect from. No, that's the little bastard shot me in the ass, and that's about as much as you can expect from life, son. Saying to a little baby bear. Oh dear. You see, it was good philosophy, good philosophy, good stuff, and particularly in the new American politically correct society, he became an anathema. You know, something wrong. You know, he was not. You know, he's not welcome in a sort of way. Yet, America for him meant everything. He was a true blue, dyed-in-the-wool conservative who believed in his constitution, the right of every man to bear arms and protect his place. And he believed all that. But he was also a southern redneck gentleman. He also believed that, you know, he could take on the geeks and put them out, you know, and if he would, he could have been a good pioneer, you know, a good man in that way.
Just explain the guns to me. I mean, I don't understand.
He had a thing about guns. Why can't people have a thing about guns? He had a thing about guns, but not to shoot them. But you never want to shoot anybody or anything or any animal. He didn't do that. He had stuffed animals, by the way, but he hadn't shot them, you know. I just think he loved to shoot them into the rise that went up from his valley. Oh, not half a mile away, but, you know, a good way away. And that was his pleasure, shooting guns into the inert earth across the way. And people that came to stay were often given guns to shoot and to take part in a pleasure that he had.
Did you?
Yeah, and he nearly shot me once. Well, actually, he did shoot me once. No, he missed. And he hit the, thank God, it was a diesel tank of his John Deere tractor. He shot. You see, I got him interested in art. And he wanted to be an artist. But the only way he wanted to be an artist was, can we hang up bottles of colour in front of a sheet of paper or a canvas or whatever you want? And I can shoot them. And what happens on there is my art. See? And so he actually, silly old bugger, he shot this bloody thing. It was only a 410, not a 12 bore. It was a 410. It was a smaller bore, a double bore thing, you know. Then he suddenly had taken an interest in aesthetics and realized that the stuff was pouring down the surface of the paper. So he threw the gun down and rushed forward to try and stop the ink from pouring any further, because he'd found what he liked. You know, he didn't want, no, I don't want to get any further. And he lifted it up. And then the bloody other ball went off. Thankfully, not through me, but through the John Deere tractor's diesel thing, which would have been boom, up like that if he'd done it. Because we did do that once. We had for our 25th anniversary meeting, we got together, and he decided to get a propane gas cylinder, place it in a position, and get the John Deere tractor, which his dad mended, and put one of those Barbie dolls, blown up Barbie dolls, in the seat. The tractor, when the engine's going, it's shaking like this, so the Barbie doll was going up and down, like the boobs were going up and down like this, you see. He shot the propane cylinder on film. He has it on film. It's an amazing shot, you know. And the thing just blows out like this.
It's an inflatable doll rather than a Barbie doll, is it?
Well, whatever. Yeah, I mean that. But a Barbie doll type thing up your face like that, which is under the mouth and everything else, and the boobs and all the rest of it. And, you know, Nixon mask would be on it. Put that on it if you wanted to. It would have to be. And he took aim, and he was very proud of the fact that first shot he would hit it, which he did. Of course, you cannot hit a thing like that with a big splay of gunshot. But you never said to him, "You're not a bloody good shot at all, Hunter. You're a goddamn phony," you know. And he was a goddamn phony in many ways, with fun, you know, that he was just provoking everybody he came across in such a way that gave you a sense that he was not a dangerous man, not at all. And he made me feel actually I didn't feel uncomfortable in his presence, you know, which you would have felt with somebody who had a mean streak, a seriously mean streak, but he didn't.
Was he good company?
Oh, funny, yeah. But in a way that was not. Tell you, Ralph, I'll explain something about William Faulkner or Hemingway or somebody that he liked, you know. No, he just spoke about things in a very monotone way. That was his view of how he felt. I don't know. Oh, yeah, he was good. He was good. I liked what he said. I just liked what he said. No, it's the way he said it. That's right. That's what he said. How he said it. And that's what I learned from these writers, was exactly what it was they were saying in such economic terms, you know. It's the beauty of language. To him was very important. I mean, he was really obsessed with the idea of his language, the way he used it, the use of odd combinations of things like, imagine my dead grandmother crawling up my leg with a knife between her teeth. The combination of those two things creates an image of a kind which is kind of uncomfortable, and that's what I mean about the use of language. And I think he did it. He taught me also how to be acidic in a way, in my own way, to be somebody that I never thought it was there, but in fact it galvanized my feelings. Him and Louis Buñuel was the only other one, the filmmaker. Thinking that, oh, drawings actually can say something. They are important. And he made me feel like that, you know. And I did things really, such a worshipful way. I did anything he wanted to know, what he wanted, I would try to achieve. And that was the most important thing about it. He elevated my art. And I kind of feel you can't ask much more than that from a person.
Can you tell me about the first time you met?
Yeah. I just gone to America in 1970. And I was staying with a guy called Dan Ratina in the Hamptons. He invited me to stay there. And then while I was there, I got a call from a man called J.C. Suarez, who was the art director of a newish magazine called Scanlons. And he said, Ralph Steadman, yeah. Hi, I'm J.C. Suarez from Scanlons magazine. We hear you're in America, and we saw your book. We wonder whether you'd like to go to Kentucky and meet up with an ex-Hells Angel called Hunter S Thompson, who just shaved his head, by the way. So I said, oh, and what's it got to... Well, you got to cover the Kentucky Derby, as they called it. And you've got to be pretty, astute with... treat him with care. Don't, he's okay. He's not dangerous, but he's okay. And I think you'd like him. He doesn't want a photographer, he wants an artist, and we thought you were the guy, because this guy was from Brooklyn, so... So I said, okay, well, I need to work, certainly. So the editor of the magazine, Don Goddard, a wonderful Englishman, very gentle, he had been the foreign editor of the New York Times. And he said, Oh, well, just take it as it comes, you know. And if you'd like to come over to see us before you go off for your flight, please do, which I did. And lost my colours on the way up. I had a bag of colours. I left them in the cab, you know. And so I arrived at Dom Goddard's flat, and I said, I've lost my colours. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? So what was her name? Naomi, his wife, Natalie, his wife, said, oh, I don't know whether these are any good, but I am, you know, she's a representative for Revlon. She said, I don't know whether these will work in any way, but here are some lipsticks and rouges and eyeshadows and things. You're welcome to take the whole pack because I'm, you know, with Revlon, and use them instead and just do the lines and then put in some color or whatever. You know, I said, okay, I'll take them, which I did, and which I did the drawings with in the end. You know, the drawings incidentally got lost. They went to San Francisco and somebody's got them. I don't know who. But they worked because that's what it became the headline of the thing. The Kentuckians are, you know, decadent, depraved, drawn in lipstick, you know.
That's for the Scanlan's piece.
For Scanlan's piece, yeah.
So what was it like meeting Hunter on the ground when you met the man?
Well, when I met him, this is a solid figure of skull and bone, really. You know, total fantastic face. I mean, wonderful features. I mean, carved out of a solid piece of bone, that face. And huge, 6'6", you know, walking about. And if he wasn't 6'6", he looked 6'6", you know. And he was, oh, Ralph, no, he didn't say that first. He said, excuse me. I was standing there looking for Hunter Thompson. You wouldn't be, what the? And as I turned around, he saw the little beard on my face. Oh, God, he said, they said you would be a matted-haired geek with string warts. Well, I didn't expect, you know, to be careful. You know. Have the police been in touch with you? I mean, talk to you? Well, it's a bit unusual to have a beard like that. I mean, that's a very English thing. You know, it's a bit foreign here. So I don't know. That's what I got. And I looked at him, and he was wearing a little sun hat, white, you know, with a brim going around like this. And this straight face, this lump of bone coming out of his head. Skin, it was meat and bone, really. You know, that meat was solid stuff. It was all, his eyes were fierce and piercing. And I said, well, I'm looking for Hunter S Thompson. I guess you're him. And I went, yeah, sure, we'll have a beer. And we did. Do you bet? He said. Well, I bet on early mist, 50-1 in the 1952 National Derby, you know, whatever. And I won. He said, oh, you got a lucky streak in you, right? So I said, yeah, but you bet now? And I said, no, I don't. He said, well, why don't you pick a horse and see? So I picked a horse and it won. Then he said, oh, you can see? You can do it. Yeah, it's good. Just try again. So I put $1 on another horse. Can't remember the name. It didn't win. It lost. And I said, that's why I don't gamble. Okay, so he left it at that. And also found out as time went by that I didn't do drugs and stuff like that. I was an innocent abroad. But then we sort of hit it off, and we went on a week's binge, total binge. It was a 6-day binge, actually, a whole week of, you know. And we were looking for the ugly faces of decadence and depravity, and we found them in the mirror of the infield toilets, looking in the mirror and realizing we were the decadence, the depravity, the unpleasant side of human nature. And so that's really how things started, really, in a way. We realized we hit it off, you know. But I realized that if I was going to do anything else with him, I'd have to keep up, you know. But that I keep up, or kept up. He said, "You're drunk, Ralph." You know, say, "You're drunk, Ralph." You know, and he'd have had God knows what, you know.
What did he consume?
Well, it was Quaaludes and coke, and I don't know if he ever did heroin. I mean, he never told me that. So I think I would have thought it was too serious, you know, to do heroin. But it was definitely all that, and why not? He wanted to do it. It helped his work. It certainly helped his work. And people saying, "Oh, I don't think he did it under the influence of." He did so much of it under the influence of all sorts of things. And then psilocybin was the other hallucinogenic drug which he used. And I didn't do it with him, but he was gobbling them like they were necessary pills he needed for doing what he did. So I don't know what, how he kept. I just think he was another kind of creature that I could never have imagined being. But I did enjoy being with him, and I did enjoy trying to respond to what he saw. But he said, no, he didn't see it. I saw it and drew it. And then he wrote to it. That's what happened a lot of times. That was a strange part of it. He said, "You're like somebody looking through a glass darkly, you know. You're looking with such naive eyes at all of this. I just have to point you in a direction and you see it. And then I hear it. And I can, what you're saying, or you say something, you gabble, or your gibberish. Out of your gibberish comes this strange truth, you know, of what you say." So that's the only compliment I would give myself in this situation, because he was the one who instigated the whole situation. I'm innocent. I tell you, I'm innocent.
Well, can you tell me about Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas? Presumably you wrote it and then you illustrated it.
Yeah, well, he'd written it pretty well, but the first Fear and Loathing experience happened before that. This is when we went to Rhode Island, and we had to cover the America's Cup 4 Scanlons, and we had to do it in a certain way to make it unusual, strange. What is this about these people racing yachts? Is there nothing we can do? We can get in amongst the yachts, you know, get our own yacht. We got a schooner, a 3-masted schooner, and we went on that. We took a rock band, and there were so many pauses in the race where the wind dropped and there was nothing going on, so that we became the entertainment. Rock band. Even I played the bongos. It was great. That's what we did.
And what did Hunter think of it all?
Well, he half the time he slept. That's another interesting thing. Did he sleep off the drugs, I wonder? But I got seasick, and I asked him what he kept taking, and he was taking his psilocybin. So I took one, and I began to see snarling red dogs attacking a pianist who was dressed as a nun. That's how I said. And we got back to the boat. He said, "What do we do now?" I said, "Well, you know, do something." "Well, we got a f***ed up story. We need to do something with it, you know." So, well, you're the artist from England. What were you going to do? You know, I said, "I don't know. You know, I was going to draw some pictures of all of this. You know, well, there's none to draw." So then he produced 2 spray cans, one black and one red, and he said, "Well, they're yours. You know, so you're the artist. So what are you going to do?" And then, I don't know what I was going to do. So I said, "Well, I don't know, we could spray something, you know." He said, "What are you going to spray?" I said, "How about the Pope somewhere, like a graffiti artist?" Because I was a bit gone, but by the time the drug was taking a hold, you know. He said, "Well, thing is, it's all right to write the boat, but it's no good doing it on any old wall. You've got to do it somewhere specific. How about on one of the boats? These are multi-million-dollar yachts, you know, as the American Gretel and the Intrepid, you know, the Australian boat. So he said, do that, well, you'll be the artist from England doing this. The Pope. Are you Catholic? I said, no. Why did you think of that? I said, it just came to mind. Okay. So I said I'd do that. And we got on a little dinghy when he rowed, and I was with my cans. And we got to the two yachts and went between the two yachts where they were harbored, under the rope, because they're low, you know, in there. And then I got, okay, Ralph, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do? I said, okay, I'll get up and do it, you know. So I got up and I shook the cans like that. Of course, you know, they make that click, 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 click noise. And somebody said, who's there? So, we're just looking at the boats, said Hunter, you know. Well, you're not supposed to be there, you know. I said, oh, we didn't know that, really. You know, we're just here. Oh, God, Ralph, we've got to flee. We've got to get the hell out of here. So we flee. Yeah, you mean, how do you mean? What do you got? We got to get out of here. Pigs everywhere. They'll be all over there. Guns. There'll be all sorts of things. You know, we'll be in jail. You know. We've done something terrible. You know, this kind of fear. So we've got to flee. And he put his, you know, we got over the hose and pulled on them, and then one of them came out of the rocks and he fell backwards, and his legs went up in the air. It was all that kind of stuff, you know. And he oh God, put him back in the thing, and started pulling very carefully. No, keep your head down, Ralph. Keep your head down. There'll be guns, you know. There'll be things like that going on, you know. The paranoia he developed, it was unbelievable, you know. So I said, okay, and I was gabbling, and you know, I was going to fix the Pope on the boat. No, you haven't done that now, Ralph. You failed, Ralph. You failed, you know. No, we gotta go back and do it. No, we can't now, Ralph. We'll be caught, you know. That's so he got back to the boat, and I was gabbling, and he was writing the fucking stuff down. He was writing down what I was saying. I wish I had those notebooks now, but I was saying things to him. He said, oh, that's good, Ralph. I'll write that. That's good. That's good, Ralph. That's really great. That's good. He'd take me to the edge. And I was really freaking out, you know. And
he took himself to the edge too, didn't he?
well, he bloody well did. And I'm sorry, no, he took me to the edge because I was an unknowing, he was a knowing edger, you know. And I was an unknowing edger. That's a difference between the two of us, actually. Naivety can be beautiful. It can also be very dangerous. And then he said, oh, hell, we got to flee, Ralph. We must flee, you know, flee and all the time. So we must send out a distress flare, you know. And I was, you know, going on something. I don't know what I was saying. I couldn't tell you. But he got a Leary flare gun and shot 2 flares, distress flares, up into the harbour. There were boats everywhere. One of them fell on the deck and started a fire. There was a distraction. The fire brigade had to be called and everything. Now we can get out, you know. So we got out that way and we got to the shore. We passed a passing boat. It was I mean, it's crazy. I can't imagine it. But I remember actually at that time standing on the deck thinking, oh, what the hell in here? And I touched it and I felt as I had hair, because I haven't, you know, but I had hair then. And I did this and I felt like Adolf Hitler. I felt I'd done something really terrible, you know. And what was I saying? Oh, well, okay, we'll get it right in a minute. So then I felt, and then we had a passing boat, and then get in the boat, Ralph. Don't mind it. Oh, never mind the luggage. F it. Let's get out of here. We gotta go. Left everything behind. I was even in my bare feet. I hadn't got shoes. I'd got nothing on. I don't know why. I was, thank God, had shoes. I had my my trousers, my fleece or whatever I had on, and I was clutching my passport and my ticket home. And Hunter was ringing around all the place because he was very caring as well. He said, I think we've got a basket case here. Ralph's in trouble. He needs a little help because if he gets back to New York and he starts talking about things, people will put him inside, you know, just put him away. I said, okay. And I got on the plane, but I wouldn't sit down. And this was the time when you could do things that you felt personally you wanted to do, which was stand up in the aisle as the plane took off. I stood up. I wouldn't sit down. I could not sit down. It was something, and if I closed my eyes, all I could see was purple flesh moving in my eyes, you know, like that. It was obviously a psychotic expression of vision, you know, somewhere happening, you know. And I thought, I hope my eyes are gonna. Are you all right? So yes, I'll be okay. But I mustn't sit down. Just let me be, you know, please. And at one time I would have been arrested as a terrorist, you know, now. But we got to New York and there was nobody to meet me, as Hunter had tried to get for me. And I had to find my way with my last, I think I had something, I must have had something. Or I got to 42nd Street where the offices were, and I asked somebody to pay the money of the taxi that got me there. And I went into the bar, a guy, it was an Irish bar on 42nd Street. The guy went, you look really rough, are you okay? He said, I need to borrow some money. I think that's the thing. So I did, and they're such a nice guy. And I only number I had, I got a number here. Can you ring this number? It's the only number I know in New York. And it was somebody called Anne Benedus, who was a lady that we'd met at the Bologna Book Fair, who, incidentally, I had run into a ditch in a car years before, you know, 2 or 3 years before. And I think probably I was drinking too much at the time. And she said, just get on just get in a cab and come over here. You sound terrible. I don't know why you sound awful. Just get in a cab, get in here. I'll pay, I'll do the thing, you know. Bless her heart. When I arrived at the door, I was purple in the face. She said, I'll get a doctor right away. She got a doctor. He gave me an injection of Librium and put me out for 24 hours. When I woke up, all I wanted to do was do a picture of the jackknife boat in the water with the sails wrapped around the boom and the Pope written in the sky. And that was how it started. That's a pretty good story.
It's not a bad story at all.
Yeah.
Just tell me, Fear and Loathing, what do you remember specifically about that and your collaboration?
That I never went to Las Vegas the first time because Hunter realized I would freak out. I'm not the type to deal with his excesses, and therefore he needed not only a lawyer, but a drug-taking lawyer who could deal with it, handle the situation like he could. So I didn't go the first time. It was nothing to do with me. So he took a man called Oscar Acosta, who was Samoan and a very good man. I met him twice. Lovely man who tried to defend, or did defend, lots of young kids who got into trouble with marijuana. But he got them off the rap because he couldn't believe that kids doing marijuana shouldn't get a prison sentence of any kind. He was a marvelous man, actually. And
he was Hunter's chosen companion.
Yeah, that's what he chose, yeah. They did a thing on Salazar, who was some sort of...
and that's the substance of the book, that combination of the two.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. That's what makes it, that they two. He suddenly asked him, but he needed pictures. That was the difference. Oh, not difference, it was, he needed more pictures, but he needed something that I might be able to produce. Because he said, it won't work with photographs, it's not the sort of thing that will work. Perhaps ask Ralph, you know, poor old Ralph.
Like he was very specific about not photographs, drawings.
That'd be drawings.
Why?
Because he knew that, in a way, drawings could be more unspecific and yet more telling, you know. Is that a way of putting it? And And my drawings particularly seemed to feel were what he'd never seen before. They were a bit wilder than he'd normally been associated with. But he wanted drawings for someone, almost as though he was like a Victor Hugo wanted drawings for Quasimodo or something, you know. And but in the end, Victor Hugo did his own drawings. Did you know that? That's a funny thing. And Hunter couldn't do it, but wanted me, you know. So get me on the phone and can you? Here's a text, you know, original text for the thing, which I've still got. And he said, "Can you do some drawings for this? We need them in a week." So I had to work. I worked all the week doing these pictures and sent them off in a tube. And when they saw them, Hunter said, I mean, he's written in the thing, he said, every one of them was a ball breaker, you know, just everyone seemed to, because you know what I was reliving? The time I'd had with him in Rhode Island. That was really, for me, a sort of a prototype of Fear and Loathing. You know, it was an early version of it.
But that was a trip.
That was a trip, yeah, it was absolutely. And I remembered it so much, it scoured me, and I had to get it out of me. That's what I did. I put it into their nightmare. And I think that's why it worked. It couldn't have worked any other way, because if I just said, oh, we want some drawings, I'll do some drawings for you, you know. That wasn't how it worked. It was just, oh, here we go again, you know.
Hunter did have an experience, because you've met him and I never met him, you spent quite a lot of time with him by the sound of it. Give me some idea of his presence, because his voice is clearly a central part of him.
Well, the way he always spoke like that. Ralph, do this. Ralph, we've got to get out of here. I don't like the look of this place. We've got to go, you know. That was always down there somewhere. I know, but he'd always do the, when he stood, he went, as though someone was going to attack him, you know. A weird sort of thing. I tried to do that on David Letterman's show once. They didn't quite understand what I was doing, but I said, well, so he walks about, and he has a funny weird with his, I think it was his right foot, because he had a football accident, and it had shortened his leg. You know, he had to have an operation.
But there was that sense of paranoia then?
Well, of course. Everything in life for him was paranoia. It was important. It was the force, the life force was paranoia, that everybody is a pig, and he's fighting against it for his constitution. He was an old-fashioned American in a way. People are trying to take it away from me. I want it, I need it. I've got to have this. I need that, I want this. And I want a cigarette when I want a cigarette. I want all these things. And nobody can take it away from me because I'm a free man. And all his life is lived that way. And as time went on, it got less and less possible for him to live outside of his own compound in the outside world, because he smoked and he took drugs. And I mean, he's brought drugs through customs so often. No one at the time when no one was looking for it, you know, so much. But it just did seem to personify this wonderful paranoia of a new age coming about, which was so politically correct. It had no space for him. It was too animal, you know. And I think that's the problem with political correctness. It's just too animal. It's just too lacking in animal feeling and sense. And I think that's why he was so great.
How good a writer do you think he was?
I think he was. Him and Mark Twain stand together, I think. Even though you say, well, it's only journalism, it's more than that. I think he's actually another spirit of the American West, or, you know, where he...
a maverick spirit.
Yeah, his voice comes out. He speaks, and he writes it. What he speaks, it writes. And he always uses IBM Selectric typewriter, you know. Still, they'd like to see it come out of the top. Important to him. Very important physical presence. The writing, the man himself, the typewriter. is so important. It's what I'm probably finding is happening to many fictional writers of the day, that they're writing it into a goddamn hole somewhere, and they have to assume that that's what's gone in there, not, you know, or print it out every page, you know.
Something I asked at the beginning, and you sort of answered, but I'm still puzzled. He's killed himself.
Yeah.
With a handgun.
Yeah.
Did that surprise you?
No. Because he told me he would do it one day. If life became so unbearable for him, a trap, which he was in, physical trap. He couldn't walk. He had 2 hip replacements. He'd broken his ankle, and he was walking about like an old man on a stick. Is that the image of Hunter S Thompson you want to remember? It was a trap he was in. He had to get out of it. He tried, he married again, he got a lovely young wife, and he just felt, I can't live in this. That beat him, actually. And I think he sat there and thought, this is it. Now's the moment. And he blew his brains out.
That's because of the physical deterioration?
I think so, yeah. I think he would have stayed around, yeah. If it hadn't been for that, because it was impossible. I'll tell you one story that was quite interesting about it. When we went, the time before last, when I went there, and he said, I want to take you out in the Red Shark. So we went out in the Red Shark. We went to Basalt, which is a sort of very mineral mining town, you know, to have breakfast. And we had breakfast and did all this sort of thing. He had his 3 Bloody Marys and then some wine and all the rest of it. Then he wanted to drive us home. And then we went onto the double carriageway, and they started driving, you know, and in front of us was this great big monster of a bonnet of the shark, you know, swaying about like this, you know. And then in front was a big black truck, but it was a truck that only had on it all sorts of bits of oily stuff. Shit, it was really messy, you know. I said, oh, fuck that guy, I want to get ahead of him, you know. So he starts overtaking this thing. I'm in the front seat with him. None of us have got seat belts. Anna's in the back, my wife, Anna, and Joe Petro. And he just put his foot down to get beyond that guy. And we were coming towards where the road narrowed to a single 2-way carriageway, an ordinary road. And he went, this guy, get behind him, and he started wrenching the wheel around in a certain way that it was almost morphing the car into a space that you could get through. It doesn't feel like that. I wish I'd had a video camera at the time, but I was just sitting there looking at this thing going, he's going, oh, you get through, maybe you will, you won't. Always calm. Funny thing, I'm always calm with him. You know, he was such a good driver, you know. And he was driving this funny thing, and he took it, almost twisted the car through the gap, beyond the guy. I said, fucking dangerous driver, he said. Is he? And then he said, I looked round, and the guy was behind, he was looking around and doing it. He said, I think he's taking your number. Impossible, he said. We have no number plates on the back. You can't be too careful in this place. Oh dear, bless his heart. I wrote about that. I call it the Red Shark, because that was a hell of a thing.
What was his car? What was it?
It's called the Red Shark. It was just I did this about the trip to Basalt, you know.
What was the car? What was his car?
It was an old Chevy, you know.
Red Chevy.
Red Chevy, yeah. And there we are. I think we've done okay.
Yeah, you're going to miss him, aren't you?
Yeah. Oh, fuck. It was a blow at 3 o'clock in the morning to hear that. But another way, I thought, you old bastard. You left me holding the can, you know, just to explain something about what is Gonzo, you know. Well, you know what Gonzo is? You become part of the story. That's what Gonzo is. That's all it is. You just suddenly turn the story around and say, it's a boring old story. Let's make it interesting. We'll become part of it. And you draw the pictures. So there we go.
Can't buy this fucking book.
So how many books did you illustrate then?
Of his?
Yeah.
Fear and Loathing Las Vegas, Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail,
Yeah.
Curse of Lono, other articles that didn't become books. Other articles that didn't become books that were done
For Scanlon's and for Rolling Stone,
for Rolling Stone, no. Yeah.
Have you got
Scanlon's
any?
went out of.
Have you got any of the Rolling Stone copies here?
I kind of what I've got here, which is quite interesting. I've got the canvases, which I can get out quickly, of the Lizard Lounge from Fear and Loathing, and one of the lawyer, and the attorney and his client at the Watergate hearings and things like that.
Yeah.
I can show you.
Because I mean, the 70s are the key moment.
I know they are. Yeah, well, that's what happened in the 70s. This was Watergate. You know.
Sure.
And so the best is to get out those things. I mean, I can just get them and put them here. Look, we've got a nice light across there.
That would be wonderful. Yeah.
Okay. Those.
Okay. Was he volatile? Was that?
You know, leave it alone! You know, that sort of thing would always happen. And that was the kind of problem with him.
Please.
Hmm?
You didn't sell them.
Well, I did them again.
Or did you?
The originals, these are the originals now. The originals were bought for $60 each by Yarn Web. I didn't know.
Oh,
at the
really?
time. I don't have the original. So I did them again.
Well, at the time.
No, I did them now, in the last 5 years.
Oh, really?
And this one of him, the Watergate, of his clients. So there's Haldeman, his lawyer, spewing filth.
Oh, God, yeah. It's very you, actually. Yeah. Well, there's another drawing that's in the book, which is...
Yeah.
What are you wearing? He wears this kind of hat, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's that funny sun hat.
That's very nice.
I mean, that's goodbye, isn't it?
It is.
Here's Hunter in a straitjacket. Here's Hunter.
Oh, amazing.
I mean, they're all Hunter, so I don't know. Most important, interesting one is the one of him, if I can find it, as a nymphette, you know. Oh, here's a whole stack of Hunters. Here's the one. That's the Hunter as a nymphette, as a coke-fueled fiend, aging fiend in the body of a... And that one.
Just hold it up for a little bit longer. Keep holding it for a second. When did you do it? 97?
That's what it says.
And that was for what exactly? I don't
New York Time magazine.
Well, for a profile of him.
Yeah. He has been doing a lot of stuff in publicity terms, you know.
Yeah, he's done. Did you write for Vanity Fair ever? Right?
Yeah. Things made photographically and then sign them,
Yeah.
you know, which is all that people really want, is that. You know. But it's just not on, really.
Yeah.
You know.
But this, to be honest, this is what's going to make the piece.
Yeah, there was that, and there was Hunter said, fuck your drawings, Ralph.
Just this, don't we? That's a bony face.
It's got that, hasn't it? It's
Yeah.
really, he's got it. He's got a bony face. I mean, it just had, it was always like it was
The bone was chiseled
Yeah.
from something.
Aspen Nights.
Mm.
Was done.
So I don't think it'll finish today. I think there'll be more.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You're the first, isn't it? Except for Guardian, the Observer, and the Independent. I've written a piece
Newsnight, really.
I've already done it this morning. Written a piece for the Independent.
Have you?
Yeah. 1,500 words for the Independent on him. But I can't. I don't know. Kind of weird. And he had good taste in music. And Bob Dylan, of course, was big.
Was he?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I mean, he used it. I mean, I think Fear and Loathing is dedicated for Mr. Tambourine Man.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Did he know him?
Oh yeah.
Any,
Mostly Jack Nicholson is a friend of his.
sorry, with
Benicio del Toro, it was John. What's his name?
Okay.
Johnny Depp.
yeah. So he knew Bob Dylan.
Yeah. Well, why shouldn't he? In a
Yeah,
way,
quite.
You know? I mean, he was one of them. I mean, his place was a bastion. He didn't get in with it easily, in a way.
So was he retreating into his compound?
Yeah, he had enough of people pulling at him. You know. Mr. Thompson, you're just thinking the same about someone else. Hey, did you really do that? Or this happened? All the time. But he loved celebrities, people that just came to see him. Because he had developed a persona and a mythological being.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so I don't know. I'm lucky I found these now, particularly these ones, which are somebody got to do some editing now.
This is lovely, though. Is Dr. Hunter S. Thompson the victim of his own twisted legend, or the sweet, gentle, kind monster of those who actually know him?
That's
actually
really true.
Who actually know him, believe him to be continued. I like that. That's
how I felt about him. You know, he was a pussycat, really, a soft guy, and he put on this front. You know. What do you mean?
yeah, gruff. I was listening. I got onto the internet and listened to some interview he did. He's actually quite slow of speech.
Yeah, well, also almost sometimes unintelligible.
Yeah, well, that's the head and then this. You want to be able to read.
You probably sell this around the world. You know, you probably get this all over the place.
What's the British thing here for?
What?
What's the British
He
thing?
came to England to see the royal family of Balmoral, and he never got there. And it was for the Independent, and he didn't go. He went. He escaped from England back home. The idea was that Fear and Loathing of the royal family was the idea. You know. I mean, that's end of the language. That phrase, Fear and Loathing.
Aye, absolutely. What I'd like to do is
Do you
try.
want to put this on? This is the last thing I did before you died.
I've done it.
You've done it?
Yeah, I can get a better shot of it.
Hmm?
Let's get a better quick shot.
Hey,
Yes.
SN. Yeah.
SPN. Oh, God.
SPN, yeah.
This last column that I can see
ESPN. That's it.
was he rang up Bill Murray at 3:33 in the morning, according to the column, which sounds entirely plausible,
Yeah.
to tell him he'd invented a new sport, which was shotgun golf.
Yeah. I'm sure that